The shuttle shook as it entered the docking bay of the celestial throne, gripped his seat and looked through the small window. The Imperial vessel was massive. It stretched across the darkness of space like a silver mountain floating among the stars. He had seen pictures, but nothing prepared him for this moment. He was 32 years old. He had fought in the border wars. He had watched friends die on distant planets. But today, his heart beat faster than it ever had in battle. Today, he would meet The Empire had ruled this part of the galaxy for 10,000 years. They were ancient. They were powerful. And they believed that most other species were beneath them. Humans were new to the galactic stage. They had only acknowledged Earth 50 years ago, after humanity somehow survived a war that destroyed civilizations far older than theirs. The shuttle landed with a soft sound, stood up and checked his uniform. It was simple. Black fabric with Earth's symbol on the chest. He carried no weapons. This was a diplomatic mission. Ambassador Park Bin was waiting for him at the door. She was a small woman with sharp eyes and gray hair tied behind her head. She had been dealing with aliens for 30 years. "Remember," she said quietly, "they will test you. They will insult you. Do not react. Do not show anger. We are here to build bridges, not burn them." Nodded, "I understand." The door opened. Cold air rushed in. Ships were always cold. Their species had silver skin and violet eyes. They did not need warmth the way humans did. A group of soldiers stood in formation. They were tall and beautiful in a way that felt almost unreal. Their faces showed no emotion. Behind them, a figure in ceremonial robes stepped forward. This was their greeting official. "Human delegation," the official said. His voice was flat. "You will follow. The Emperor has granted you attendance at tonight's banquet. Do not speak unless spoken to. Do not touch anything. Do not embarrass your species." Felt Bin's hand on his arm, a warning. He kept his face calm and followed. The inside of the celestial throne was beautiful and cold. The walls were made of something that looked like crystal. Light moved through them in slow waves, walked past without looking at the humans. To them and Bin were barely worth noticing. The banquet hall was enormous. Hundreds of sat at long tables made of dark metal. At the far end, on a raised platform, sat the Emperor. He was old, even by standards. His silver skin had turned almost white. His eyes glowed faintly in the dim light. Beside him sat his family, 3 daughters and 2 sons. Eyes moved across them and then stopped. The 3rd daughter was different. She sat quietly, her hands folded in her lap. While her siblings looked bored or arrogant, she looked sad. Her violet eyes stared at nothing. She wore heavy ceremonial armor made of silver and silk, and it seemed to weigh her down. She was beautiful, but it was a lonely kind of beauty. Looked away. It was not his place to stare at royalty. He and Bin were led to a small table near the edge of the hall. The message was clear. They were allowed to be here, but they were not important. The banquet began. Strange food was served. Music played from somewhere, slow and haunting. Spoke to each other in their language, and translators struggled to keep up. Then a voice rose above the others. "Why do we allow these humans here?" A noble stood up. He was young and his face was twisted with disgust. "They are children. Their species discovered fire while we were building empires. They feel too much. They die too quickly. They are animals pretending to be civilized." The hall went silent. Every eye turned too. Bin's hand tightened on her glass. Her eyes told him to stay quiet, but smiled. He stood up slowly. Every in the room watched him. The noble who had spoken looked pleased, expecting the human to lose his temper. "You are right," said. His voice was calm and warm. "We are young, we do feel too much, and yes, we die quickly." He paused. "But I have always wondered, if you live for 1,000 years and feel nothing, have you truly lived at all?" Silence. Then from the royal platform a sound, soft and unexpected. Laughter. The third princess had her hand over her mouth. Her violet eyes were bright. She was smiling. The noble's face turned dark with anger, but the emperor raised his hand. The matter was closed, bowed, and sat down. Bin let out a breath. That was either very brave or very stupid. Probably both, admitted. After the banquet, they were led to their quarters. Small rooms with cold beds, did not expect to sleep well. But before the lights went out, a message appeared on his communication screen. It was written in the formal language, but his translator converted it. Human, you are requested to serve as cultural advisor to Princess of House. Report to her chambers at first light. This is not optional. Read the message 3 times. Princess, the third daughter, the one who had laughed. In the morning, he stood outside her chambers. The doors were tall and covered with symbols he did not understand. General Sung stood beside him. The general was protector, and he clearly did not want here. I advised against this, Sung said. His voice was cold. The princess does not need a human teaching her anything. You are a distraction at best, a threat at worst. I am just a teacher, said. You are a human. Your kind brings chaos wherever you go. Sung stepped closer. I will be watching you, always. The doors opened. Stepped inside. The room was filled with soft light. Books and star maps covered every surface. And standing by the window, looking out at the stars, was Princess. She turned to face him. Up close, she was even more striking. Her silver skin seemed to glow. Her violet eyes studied him with open curiosity. You made me laugh, she said. Her voice was soft like music. No one has made me laugh in 47 years. Bowed, I am honored, Your Highness. She said, when we are alone, you will call me and I will call you. She tilted her head. Is that acceptable? He looked at her. Behind her eyes, he saw something he recognized. Loneliness. The same loneliness he had felt on battlefields, surrounded by death, wondering if anyone would remember him. Yes, he said, that is acceptable. She smiled again, and something in his chest shifted, something dangerous, something warm. Outside the door, General Sung watched through his surveillance screen. His eyes narrowed. This human was going to be a problem. The weeks passed slowly on the celestial throne, learned the rhythm of life aboard the imperial vessel, wake before the artificial sunrise, eat the strange, tasteless food the preferred, then walk through the cold hallways to his chambers. Every day, she waited for him by the window. At first, their conversations were careful. She asked about Earth. He told her about the blue oceans and green forests. He described the way rain felt on human skin and how the sun warmed everything it touched, listened with her eyes wide. There was a frozen place. They had never known warmth the way humans did. Tell me about your music, she said one morning. Thought for a moment. Then he pulled out a small device and played a song. It was old, a woman singing about lost love. The melody was simple, but the emotion was powerful. Sat very still as she listened. When the song ended, her hands were shaking. Why does it hurt? She whispered. The song, it makes my chest feel strange, heavy. That is what we call sadness, said gently. The song is about losing someone you love. It makes us feel the pain, even if we have never experienced it ourselves. But why would you want to feel pain? Smiled, because feeling pain means we are alive, and when we share it through art, we feel less alone. Looked at him for a long time. Her violet eyes were wet, realized with surprise that she was close to crying. He had not known that could cry. We are taught to hide such feelings, she said quietly. Emotion is weakness. A princess must be stone, cold and perfect and empty. She touched her chest. But I have never been empty. I have always felt too much. I just learned to bury it deep. From that day, something changed between them. Began to share things she had never told anyone. She spoke about her childhood, locked away in the palace. Her mother had died when she was young, and her father, the emperor, had become distant. Her older siblings saw her as competition, not family. She had no friends, only servants and guards who watched her every move. "I am a symbol," she said bitterly, "a piece in a political game. My marriage has already been decided. I am to wed High Lord of House. It will unite two great families and bring peace to our borders." Felt something cold in his stomach. And what does this High Lord want? Power, that is all any of them want. His voice was tired. He is old, cruel. He has had 3 wives before me. They all died under mysterious circumstances. She laughed, but there was no joy in it. Perhaps I will be his 4th. Have you told your father? My father does not care. To him I am just another daughter, useful for alliances, disposable. She turned to face the window. No one has ever asked me what I want, not once in 200 years. Stood up and walked to her side. He did not touch her. He simply stood there, close enough that she could feel his warmth. What do you want? She did not answer for a long time. Outside, stars drifted past in silence. I want to be free, she finally said. I want to feel the rain you described. I want to listen to sad songs without hiding my tears. I want. She stopped. Her voice broke. I want someone to see me, not the princess, just me. Did not say anything. He did not tell her it would be okay. He did not offer empty comfort. He simply stayed beside her, present and solid and warm. After a while, looked at him. Her eyes were full of wonder. You are strange, she said. Other species try to give me solutions. They try to fix things or gain favor, but you just stay. Sometimes people do not need answers, said. Sometimes they just need someone to sit with them in the dark. A single tear rolled down her silver cheek. She wiped it away quickly, embarrassed. I have never met anyone like you, she admitted. I have never met anyone like you either, he replied. Days turned into weeks, taught her about human poetry. She showed him star maps and explained the history of her people. They talked for hours about everything and nothing. And slowly, without meaning to, they began to matter to each other. Notice things. The way his eyes lit up when he entered the room. The way she leaned toward him when he spoke. The way her cold fingers sometimes brushed against his warm ones, as if by accident. He noticed because he felt it too. At night, alone in his quarters, he thought about her constantly. Her voice, her sad smile, the way she laughed when he told her jokes she did not fully understand. He knew it was dangerous. He knew the rules. Royalty did not mix with other species. The punishment was severe. But knowing something is wrong does not stop the heart from wanting. Ambassador Bin noticed the change in him. One evening, she called him to her quarters. You are spending too much time with the princess, she said. Her voice was serious. People are talking. I am her cultural advisor. It is my job. Do not lie to me. Bin's eyes were hard. I have seen the way you look at her, and I have seen the way she looks at you. This cannot happen. Do you understand? Was silent. They have laws, Bin continued. Ancient laws. If a member of the royal family becomes romantically involved with a lesser species, they are executed. Not imprisoned. Executed. And the other person is killed as well, along with everyone who helped them. I know the laws. Then act like it. Bin grabbed his arm. I am not saying this to be cruel. I am saying this because I care about you, and because I do not want to start a war over a love affair that can never be. That night lay awake staring at the ceiling. He told himself Bin was right. He told himself to be professional, to keep his distance, to remember his duty. But the next morning, when smiled at him from across the room, all his resolve melted away. I dreamed about rain, she said. It was warm and soft, and I was standing in a field on your planet, and you were there beside me. His heart beat painfully in his chest. That sounds like a good dream, he managed to say. It was the best dream I have ever had. Her violet eyes held his. I do not want to wake up, not ever. He knew then that they were both falling. falling into something beautiful and terrifying, something that could destroy them both. But he did not step back. He did not run away. Because some things are worth the risk, even if the price is everything. Outside's chambers, hidden in the shadows, General Sung recorded everything. His face was cold with satisfaction. He had been right about the human. Now he just needed to wait for the perfect moment to strike. The message arrived late at night, was half asleep when his communication screen lit up with words. "Come to the observatory. There is something I want to show you." He dressed quickly and moved through the empty hallways. The ship was quiet at this hour. Most were in their sleep cycles. Even General Sung's surveillance drones seemed fewer than usual. The observatory was at the top of the celestial throne. It was a dome of clear crystal that showed the universe in all directions. When entered, his breath caught in his throat. Stars filled the sky, billions of them stretching into infinity, and in the center of the view something was happening. A massive star, red and swollen, was collapsing in on itself. Light poured out of it in waves of gold and purple. "It is dying," said. She stood near the edge of the dome, her silver skin reflecting the colors of the dying star. "This star has burned for 8 billion years. Tonight it ends." Walked to stand beside her. They watched in silence as the star shrank and shrank. Then suddenly it exploded. Light burst outward in a ring of fire. The shockwave spread across the darkness, beautiful and terrible. "A supernova," whispered. "Yes," his voice was soft. "In a few thousand years the gases will form new stars, new planets, perhaps new life." She turned to look at him. Death and birth, ending and beginning all at once. They stood together as the light faded. The universe settled back into darkness, but it was a different darkness now. Something had changed. Said, her voice was hesitant, almost afraid. "May I ask you something personal?" "Of course." She did not look at him. Her eyes stayed on the stars. "Do humans truly mate for love?" The question hung in the air between them, felt his heart speed up. "Yes," he said carefully, "many do." "How does it work?" She finally turned to face him. Her violet eyes were intense. "How do you choose?" Thought about the question. "It is not really a choice," he said. "It is more like gravity. You meet someone and suddenly everything pulls toward them. You think about them when they are not there. You feel happy when they smile. You feel pain when they are hurting. And eventually you realize that your life would be empty without them." "That sounds terrifying." "It is." He smiled slightly. "It is also the most wonderful thing a human can experience." Was quiet for a long moment. Then she asked, "What happens when you love someone you cannot have?" Felt the weight of her words. They were not talking about abstract ideas anymore. They both knew it. "Some people walk away," he said. "They protect themselves from the pain. And others stay. They love anyway, even knowing it might destroy them." He paused, because some hearts would rather break than never feel at all. His hand moved. Slowly, carefully, she reached out and touched his fingers. Her skin was cool against his. The temperature difference was shocking at first, but he did not pull away. Instead, he wrapped his warm hand around her cold one. She gasped softly. "You are so warm," she whispered. "I have never felt anything like this." "Are cold-blooded," said. "You do not generate heat the way we do." "No, we do not." She stepped closer, close enough that he could see the faint glow in her eyes. "Is this why humans touch so often, for warmth?" "Partly, but also for connection. Touch is how we say things words cannot express." Looked down at their joined hands. When she spoke again, her voice was barely above a whisper. "I have never wanted to touch anyone before. The thought always felt unpleasant, wrong." She raised her eyes to meet his. "But with you I want to know what it feels like, all of it, every human thing you have described, the warmth, the closeness, the feeling of being seen." His chest ached. He wanted to kiss her. He wanted to hold her. He wanted things he knew could get them both killed. He said gently, "You know what the laws say." "I know," her grip on his hand tightened. "I know they will kill me if I want you. I have known since the first day when you made me laugh." A tear slid down her silver cheek. "But I cannot stop. I have tried. Every night I tell myself to forget you. Every morning I wake up thinking of your face." "It is the same for me," he admitted. The truth came out before he could stop it. "Every moment I spend with you makes it harder to breathe. You are like gravity. Everything in me pulls toward you." They stood face to face in the light of distant stars. The universe stretched around them, ancient and indifferent. But in that moment nothing else existed. Just two people, drawn together by something stronger than law or duty or fear. "What do we do?" asked. Did not have an answer. He knew the logical thing was to walk away, to end this before it went further, to save both their lives. But when he looked at her, logic meant nothing. "I do not know," he said honestly, "but I am not leaving. Whatever happens, I am not leaving you." Smiled through her tears. Then she did something no princess had ever done. She stepped forward and pressed her forehead against his chest, her cold body against his warm one, her hearts beating against his single heart. They stood there for a long time, holding each other in the darkness between stars. Neither of them noticed the small drone hovering near the ceiling. Its red eye blinked as it recorded everything. In his quarters, General Sung watched the footage with cold satisfaction. He had been patient. He had waited for proof. Now he had it. The princess had touched the human. She had confessed feelings for him. She had violated the spirit of the blood laws, if not yet the letter. It was enough. Sung stood and prepared a report for the Emperor's council. By morning, the human would be expelled from the ship, and the princess would learn the price of her weakness. He allowed himself a small smile. Order would be restored, purity would be maintained, and Sung would be rewarded for his loyalty. He did not understand that he was setting in motion something far greater than a simple scandal. He did not understand that humans, when threatened, did not simply accept defeat. He did not understand that the man he was about to challenge had survived wars that broke entire species. But he would learn. They would all learn. The soldiers came at dawn. Was eating breakfast when his door burst open. 6 guards in full armor marched in. Behind them, General Sung wore a look of triumph. "Human," Sung announced, "you are under investigation for crimes against the imperial bloodline. You will come with us." Set down his food slowly. He did not resist. There was no point. These guards could kill him in seconds if they wished. They led him through the ship to a holding cell. The room was small and dark and very, very cold. He sat on the metal bench and waited. Hours passed. No one came to explain. No one brought food or water. This was part of the process, he knew. They wanted him afraid. They wanted him weak. But had been captured before. He had been tortured during the border wars. He had held information for 3 days while enemies broke his bones one by one. This cold room was nothing. Finally the door opened. Ambassador Park Bin entered. Her face was pale with worry. "What have you done?" she demanded. "They are saying you violated the princess. They are calling for your execution." "I never violated anyone," said calmly. "We talked, we held hands, that is all." "That is enough." Bin ran her fingers through her gray hair. "Do you not understand? For a human to touch royalty with romantic intent is considered contamination. The blood laws are ancient and absolute. There is no defense." "Where is?" "The princess is under house arrest. The Emperor's council is deciding her fate." Bin's voice dropped. "If they find her guilty, the punishment is death for both of you." Closed his eyes. He had known the risks. He had known what could happen, but hearing it spoken aloud made it real. "Can I see her?" "No, communication is forbidden." Bin stepped closer. "Listen to me carefully. I have been negotiating all morning. They are willing to make a deal. If you admit that you manipulated the princess, that you used human tricks to cloud her judgment, they will exile you instead of killing you. Will be punished, but she will live. Her marriage to High Lord will proceed as planned. Opened his eyes. You want me to lie? I want you to survive, and I want to prevent a diplomatic disaster. Bin grabbed his shoulders. Think, if you both die, what changes? Nothing. The empire continues. The blood laws remain, but if you sacrifice yourself, at least she lives. Lives? His voice was sharp. You mean exists, trapped in a loveless marriage to a monster who might kill her like he killed his other wives. That is not living, Bin. That is a different kind of death. It is the only choice you have. Stood up, he walked to the small window and looked out at the stars. No, he said finally, there is another choice. Bin frowned. What are you talking about? The Human Accord, Section 7, Paragraph 3, Diplomatic Immunity for Cultural Misunderstandings. He turned to face her. I am a cultural advisor. Everything I did was in the context of teaching about human customs. Holding hands, expressing emotion, these are normal parts of human greeting and communication. If they chose to interpret them as romantic, that is their cultural bias, not my crime. Bin stared at him. That is the weakest legal argument I have ever heard. It does not need to be strong. It just needs to create doubt. Enough doubt to delay the trial, enough time to find another way. And what if there is no other way? Met her eyes. Then at least I did not abandon her, at least I tried. Bin was silent for a long moment, then she sighed. You love her, she said. It was not a question. Yes. Even though it might kill you both. Yes. She shook her head slowly. You humans are impossible. But there was something like respect in her voice. I will file the diplomatic claim. I cannot promise it will work. Thank you, Bin. She turned to leave, then paused at the door. For what it is worth, I hope you win. The princess deserves better than what they have planned for her. After she left, sat back down. His heart was pounding. The diplomatic claim was a gamble. It might buy them time or it might make things worse. But he could not give up. Not while was out there, alone and afraid, waiting to see if she would live or die. Hours passed, night fell, the cell grew even colder. Then, just past midnight, something slid under his door. A small piece of paper folded tight. Picked it up and unfolded it. The message was written in shaking handwriting, translated into his language. They are debating now. Half the council wants us dead. The other half fears angering humanity. Sung is pushing for immediate execution. My father is silent. He has always been silent. I do not know how this ends. I do not know if I will see you again. But I need you to know something. These past weeks with you have been the happiest of my 200 years. You made me feel alive. You made me feel seen. You gave me warmth I never knew existed. They will kill me if I want you. But I cannot stop wanting, and I do not wish to. Whatever happens, know that I loved you, that my heart, my cold heart, learned to beat for you. Yours in this life, and whatever comes after. Read the letter 3 times, then he pressed it against his chest, over his heart. She loved him. Even facing death, she loved him. He stood up. His fear was gone. In its place was something stronger, determination, purpose, the same fire that had carried him through wars. He was a human. Humans did not surrender. Humans did not accept fate quietly. When they came for him tomorrow, they expected a scared prisoner begging for mercy. They would find something else entirely. They would find a man willing to fight an empire for the woman he loved. And that was something no had ever faced before. The imperial court was filled to capacity. Every noble, every official, every person of importance on the celestial throne had gathered to witness the trial. They sat in rows of cold metal seats, their silver faces showing no emotion. At the front, on his massive throne, the emperor waited. Stood alone in the center of the room. No chains bound him. They did not believe in such things. If he ran, he would simply be killed. Ambassador Bin had delivered his diplomatic claim that morning. It had caused confusion, then anger, then reluctant debate. The blood laws were ancient and sacred, but the human accord was also binding. No one was sure which took priority. Finally, the emperor had decided. The human would be allowed to speak. General Sung stood near the throne, barely hiding his rage. He had expected a quick execution. Instead, this human had turned his victory into a spectacle. The emperor raised his hand. Silence fell. "Human," the emperor said. His voice was old and dry. "You have been accused of corrupting Princess of House. You have claimed diplomatic immunity. This court will hear your defense. Choose your words carefully. They may be your last." Bowed respectfully. Then he straightened and looked at the crowd. He did not argue law. He did not quote treaties or challenge evidence. He had learned something important during his time with the... They were a proud people, but they were also bored. Their long lives stretched endlessly, empty of surprise or emotion. So he did the one thing humans did better than any species in the galaxy. He told them a story. 150 years ago, he began, humanity faced extinction. A murmur passed through the crowd. They had heard rumors about human history, but few knew the details. A species called the invaded our solar system. They were ancient, powerful, and cruel. They wanted our planet for resources and saw us as pests to be eliminated. His voice was calm but strong. They killed 3 billion of us in the first year. Our cities burned. Our armies fell. We were nothing compared to them. He paused, letting the weight of his words settle. Every logical prediction said humanity would be destroyed. We were too young, too primitive, too emotional. We should have surrendered. We should have accepted our fate like rational beings. He looked directly at the emperor. But humans are not rational. A few shifted in their seats. This was not what they had expected. "We fought," continued. "We fought when we had no hope. We fought when we had no weapons. We sent farmers with hunting rifles against ships that could destroy planets. And we died. We died by the millions." His voice grew stronger. "But we did not stop, because humans do not fight with our minds. We fight with our hearts. And our hearts told us that some things are worth dying for. Freedom, family, love." The word hung in the air. Love. They did not speak of such things. Eventually, something strange happened. Other species began to notice us. They saw these tiny, fragile creatures throwing themselves against an unbeatable enemy, and they were moved. They sent help. They were defeated, not because humanity won alone, but because our refusal to give up inspired the galaxy. Took a step forward. "You call us primitive. You say we feel too much. You say emotion is weakness." He shook his head slowly. "But I have seen your empire. I have walked your halls. I have watched your people." He pointed at the crowd. "You live for 1,000 years and feel nothing. Your marriages are contracts. Your families are alliances. Your art is mathematical. You have conquered half the galaxy, and yet you are dying inside." Gasps echoed through the court. No one had ever spoken to this way. "Your young people are restless," continued. "They look at humans and wonder what we have that they do not. They watch our music, our stories, our messy and beautiful lives. They are beginning to question whether purity is worth the emptiness it brings." General Sung stepped forward. "Enough, this is propaganda, not defense." But the emperor raised his hand again. His ancient eyes were fixed on with something that might have been curiosity. "Continue," the emperor said. Nodded. "I did not come here to corrupt your daughter. I came here to teach, and I learned instead. I learned that Princess is not the cold, perfect statue you expect her to be. She laughs. She cries. She dreams of rain she has never felt. She is alive in a way the blood laws try to crush." He turned to look at the balcony where was held under guard. Their eyes met. Your laws say that love between species is contamination. But in the outer colonies, human children are already being born. They are healthy. They are strong. They have the longevity of and the passion of humans. Your pure bloodlines are not threatened by us. They are enhanced. More murmurs. This was not public knowledge, but some of the younger nobles nodded. They had heard rumors. You can kill me today, said. You can kill, but you cannot kill what she represents. Change is coming to your empire. Not because of me, but because your own children are hungry for something more than cold perfection. He looked at the emperor one final time. The blood laws are ancient, but so was the empire, and it fell because it could not adapt. He bowed his head. I am done speaking. Silence filled the court. No one moved, no one breathed. Then from the balcony a sound, soft at first then louder, clapping. Was applauding. The guards tried to stop her, but other people joined. Young in the gallery, their faces flushed with emotion they had been taught to hide. They clapped and they did not stop. General Sung looked around in horror. This was supposed to be an execution. It was becoming a revolution. The emperor stood slowly. The clapping stopped. This court will recess, he announced. Judgment will be delivered tomorrow. He walked out without another word, but as he passed, their eyes met, and in the emperor's ancient gaze saw something unexpected. Doubt. The old ruler was not convinced, but he was no longer certain either. That night sat in his cell and waited. He had done everything he could. The rest was beyond his control. But somewhere in the palace, young were whispering. They were sharing his words. They were asking questions their parents could not answer. And that perhaps was victory enough. The night was deep when came to him. Had been moved from the holding cell to a guarded room. It was slightly warmer, slightly less like a prison. The emperor's hesitation had bought them a small measure of mercy. He was sitting by the window, watching the stars, when the door opened silently. He turned, expecting a guard or perhaps Ambassador Bin with news. Instead he saw. She wore a dark cloak over her ceremonial armor. Her silver face was shadowed, but her violet eyes glowed faintly in the dim light. How did you get here? Whispered. There are servants who are loyal to me, not to the emperor, not to the laws. She closed the door behind her. We do not have much time. Stood, his heart was beating fast. You should not be here if they find you. Then they find me. She stepped closer. Her voice was steady, but her hands were trembling. I have spent 200 years doing what I should, following rules, being obedient, being empty. She shook her head. Tonight I am doing what I want. She stood before him, so close he could feel the cold radiating from her skin. In her eyes, he saw fear and determination and something else, something fragile and fierce. They will make their decision tomorrow, she said quietly. We may live, we may die, I do not know, but I know that I do not want to face whatever comes without knowing. Knowing what? What it feels like. Her voice broke slightly. To be touched, to be held, to be loved, not as a princess, just as. Reached out and cupped her face in his hands. Her skin was cool against his palms. She closed her eyes and leaned into his warmth. Are you sure? He asked. I have never been more sure of anything. He kissed her forehead first, soft and gentle. She gasped at the sensation. Then he kissed her cheeks, her eyelids, the tip of her nose. Each touch was a question, and each sigh from her was an answer. When their lips finally met, made a sound he had never heard from her, a sound of release, of surrender, of coming home. They stayed like that for a long moment, just breathing each other in. Then pulled back slightly. She looked down at herself, at the heavy ceremonial armor she wore, layers of silver metal and silk that marked her as property of the empire. I want to take this off, she whispered. I have worn it my entire life. I want to know what it feels like to be free of it. Nodded, let me help you. He reached for the first clasp. It was intricate, designed to be difficult. Armor was not meant to be removed quickly. It was meant to be a cage, but was patient. He worked slowly, carefully, his warm fingers finding each lock, each fastening. With every piece he removed, breathed a little easier. The shoulder plates came off first, then the chest piece, heavy with embedded jewels that represented her status. Then the arm guards, the hand covers, the ceremonial collar that marked her as unmarried property of her house. Stood still through all of it. Tears ran silently down her silver cheeks, not from sadness, from relief. "This armor," she said as he worked, "was put on me when I was young. Each piece was added as I grew. Each piece was a reminder that I belonged to others, that my body was not my own, that I existed to serve the Empire." Removed another layer. Beneath the metal she wore simple silk, soft and light. "When I was fitted for my wedding armor," she continued, "the craftsmen measured me like I was furniture. They talked about how High Lord would appreciate my proportions. No one asked if I was comfortable. No one asked if I was afraid." The last piece of metal fell away, a belt of woven silver that had circled her waist since childhood. Looked down at herself. She wore only the silk now, her arms wrapped around herself, suddenly vulnerable. "I feel strange," she admitted, lighter, empty, exposed. Took off his own jacket. It was simple human fabric, warm from his body heat. He draped it over her shoulders. She pulled it close and breathed in his scent. Fresh tears fell. "Thank you," she whispered. "Not just for this, for everything, for seeing me, for staying." He pulled her into his arms, her cold body pressed against his warm one. Two temperatures, two species, two hearts beating in the darkness. "I see you," he said into her hair. "Not the princess, not the armor, just you. And you are the most beautiful thing I have ever known." She cried then, really cried. All the tears she had held back for 2 centuries poured out of her. He held her through it, stroking her hair, whispering comfort. When the tears finally stopped, she looked up at him with wonder. "I did not know it could feel like this," she said. "Being held, being safe. I thought it was just something in human stories." "It is real," he said. "This is real." She touched his face, tracing his features with her cold fingers. "I love you," she said. The words came out simply, without fear. "I know it has only been weeks. I know we barely know each other, but I love you, my heart beats for you." "I love you too," he replied. "Whatever happens tomorrow, that will not change." They sat together on the narrow bed, wrapped in each other. He told her stories about Earth. She told him about the stars she had mapped in her lonely years. They talked about dreams and fears and small, silly things that did not matter except that they mattered to each other. And slowly, in the cold room on the cold ship, they created warmth. When dawn began to glow through the window, she looked at the pile of armor on the floor. She did not put it back on. Instead, she kept his jacket wrapped around her shoulders. "I will face them like this," she said. "No armor, no mask, just me." Stood beside her. "Are you ready?" She took his hand, warm fingers wrapped around cold ones. "With you, yes," she smiled. A real smile, bright and unafraid. "Whatever comes, we face it together." Outside, the sound of marching feet approached. The guards were coming. But neither nor looked away from each other. In that moment there was no fear, only love. And love, they had learned, was stronger than any law ever written. The doors burst open at first light. General Sung led the soldiers personally. His face was set in cold determination. This was the moment he had waited for. The human would be dragged away in chains. The princess would be broken. Order would be restored. But when he entered the room, he stopped. Stood in the center wearing no armor, only simple silk and a human jacket draped over her shoulders. Her silver skin seemed to glow. Her violet eyes were calm. There was no fear in them, no shame. Beside her stood, their hands were joined. And behind them, visible through the window, the first rays of a distant sun were rising. Golden light flooded the room, painting them in colors the cold ship had never seen. Sung recovered quickly. Princess, you are commanded to appear before the emperor. You will dress appropriately and— No. The word was quiet but absolute. Sung blinked. What did you say? Stepped forward. I said no, I will not wear the armor. I will not hide behind metal and silk. I will face my father as I am, as I choose to be. This is madness. You are disgracing yourself. I am freeing myself. She smiled slightly. There is a difference. The soldiers looked at each other uncertainly. They had been trained to follow orders, but no one had prepared them for a princess who simply refused. Walked past them toward the door. Followed. After a moment of hesitation, Sung signaled his soldiers to escort them. The walk to the throne room felt endless. Lined the hallways, watching in silence. Word had spread quickly. The princess was dressed like a commoner. She held the human's hand openly. She was breaking every rule. Some looked disgusted, but others, especially the younger ones, watched with something like admiration. The throne room doors opened. The same crowd from yesterday filled the seats. The emperor sat on his throne, ancient and unreadable. Beside him, siblings watched with a mixture of horror and fascination. Walked to the center of the room and stopped. She did not bow. She simply stood and looked at her father. Daughter, the emperor said. His voice echoed in the silence. You appear before this court improperly dressed and in the company of the accused. Explain yourself. I love him. The words were simple. They fell like stones into still water. The human corrupted you, Sung said from behind her. He used his species manipulation too. He did nothing I did not want. His voice was steady. Every choice I made was my own. Every step I took toward him was freely chosen. If that is a crime, then I am guilty. The emperor was silent for a long moment. His ancient eyes studied his daughter as if seeing her for the first time. The blood laws are clear, he said finally. Romantic union with lesser species is forbidden. The punishment is death. Then kill me. A gasp ran through the crowd. Even the emperor's eyes widened slightly. Took another step forward. You can kill me, father. You have the power, but you cannot make me unlove him. You cannot reach into my heart and remove what I feel. The only thing you can destroy is my body. She raised her chin. And if you do know this, humanity will remember. They do not forget when one of their own is killed. They do not accept injustice quietly. Their poets will write about us. Their children will speak our names. We will become a symbol of everything your empire tried to crush and failed. Beside her spoke. We are not asking you to change your laws today. We are not demanding revolution. We are simply asking you to pause, to consider whether these ancient rules still serve your people, or whether they are chains that bind you to a dying way of life. The emperor remained still. His face showed nothing. But across the room, young were nodding. The whispers that had started after yesterday's speech had grown. Students had debated through the night. Artists had begun composing songs. Something was shifting in the empire, invisible but undeniable. Sung saw it, his face twisted with anger. Your Majesty, you must act decisively, if we show weakness. Silence. The emperor's voice was soft but absolute. Sung fell silent immediately. The old ruler rose from his throne. Slowly he descended the steps until he stood before his daughter. They were the same height. Their violet eyes met. You have put me in an impossible position, the emperor said quietly. If I execute you, I create martyrs. I inflame tensions with humanity. I risk war we cannot afford. But if I spare you, I undermine the laws that have held this empire together for 10,000 years. Perhaps, said, those laws have outlived their purpose. Perhaps, the emperor looked at, human. Do you understand that even if I let you live today, you will never truly be accepted here? You will face hatred, danger, assassination attempts. Met his gaze without flinching. I have faced worse. And you still choose this path. You still choose my daughter. I choose her, whatever comes. The emperor was quiet for a long time. The entire room held its breath. Finally, the old ruler spoke. The blood laws are not abolished. That would require councils and debates and years of argument. He looked at his daughter. But they are suspended, pending review. You will be stripped of your royal title. You will be considered common. You will have no claim to the throne, no political power, no protection. Smiled, that sounds like freedom. You will be assigned to the human delegation as a cultural liaison. You will remain with them until this matter is fully resolved. The emperor turned to. She is your responsibility now, human. Keep her safe. Teach her about your world as she taught you about ours. Bowed deeply. I will, I swear it. The emperor nodded once. Then he walked back to his throne without another word. It was not complete victory, but it was survival, it was hope. Sung watched in silent fury as and walked out of the throne room together, still holding hands. His plans had failed. His certainty had been shattered. Behind him, young were already celebrating in hushed voices. The future he had feared was arriving, and he could not stop it. 3 days later, the celestial throne reached Haven 7, a neutral space station where human and ships met to trade, and stood at a viewport, watching the station grow larger. What happens now? Asked. Took her hand, warm and cold together as always. Now we build something new, not human, not something different. That sounds frightening. It is, he smiled at her. But it is also wonderful. That is how life works. The best things are always both. Leaned against him. For the first time in 2 centuries, she did not think about duty or politics or the weight of crowns. She thought only about the warmth beside her, the hand holding hers, the future stretching ahead, unknown and beautiful and free. I love you, she said. I love you too. Outside the viewport, a new star was being born. Light emerged from darkness just as it always had, just as it always would. And somewhere in the galaxy, poets were already writing songs about the human and the princess who refused to let an empire tell them how to feel. Their story was just beginning. But that, as they say, is a tale for another time.